Good afternoon. Welcome back to another rendition of the B&H virtual event space. Sorry about the little technical difficulties there, but you guys are back for the four cornerstones of a successful portrait business. And you'll notice that I brought with me, looks like we have 5 cornerstones of the business here, and I'm just a rusty old brick in the back shed, but they can't get rid of me. So I want to welcome everybody, Rod, Michael, Monica, Bev, Tim. What's going on, everybody?
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
How's everybody
Thanks for having us
doing?
back.
Of course.
We're so
Look,
sad. This is our last one.
I know. And for the last one, I'm like, I gotta hang on. I wasn't letting Scott hold all the reins for this one. I'm like, I gotta come back on. I gotta see how we're gonna finish with a bang here. So here we
You
are.
drew the short straw. We know.
Look, you guys can't get rid of me. I know you tried, but I'm back for the finale, and that's all that matters. So
That's right.
who wants to let's kind of, as we go into this last session, who wants to give us a quick 10-second recap of where we've been at? Monica, is that you?
Sure. So we have, let's see, week 1, we talked about branding, and the whole idea behind this series was the 3 of us have studios that are now decades old, right? And we all have kind of a luxury business model. And so the 5 of us, I say 3 of us when I talk about the studio, but the 5 of us have a mastermind group that meets every other Thursday, come hell or high water, 90 minutes. We just, we talk about all the marketing, any issues we're having. And although our styles are so different, our business models are so similar. And the things that we learned coming up are so similar. And so we thought that it would be nice to kind of have that knowledge in one place. And so this series was developed to talk about style, brand. What did we talk about last week?
Client experience.
Thank you. Client experience. And then sales. So these are like the 4 things that we feel like photographers kind of just struggle with. We've all been teaching for a long, long time. And these are the things that we get the most questions about. So if you've missed any of them, definitely go check out the replays. And we'd love to hear your questions. We're all on Instagram. Don't message him because he won't answer, but you can send it to me. I'll answer. And so tonight we're just wrapping it up with the selection appointment, because that's another area where photographers have a lot of questions. So
Yeah.
Wonderful.
What is that for?
I do know how to use a clock, though.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'll repeat. What is that for?
Wonderful. Monica, thank you for that recap. And I'll double down on what Monica said. Please do get any of your questions in. And Danny is wonderful enough to drop the links to our first couple parts of this series into the chat there. So if you're joining us either on Zoom or on one of the simulcasts, you can look in the comments section or the chat here on Zoom. But I believe we're kicking it over to Tim to get us started.
Yeah.
Get us started.
I'm
Master.
excited. Yeah, this has been amazing. I love these guys. They're great friends, and our B&H family now. It's just been wonderful. Thank you guys for this opportunity, because I think photographers are like family. We're just a unique bunch, and the fact that we connect at a different level because we're so passionate about what we do. And I think that's unusual from a lot of businesses. And so I love that part of it. So anyway, I'm going to kick us off tonight. We're going to talk about sales, and you'll hear us talk a lot about selection appointments, because we use a different term than sale when we talk to our clients about it, because nobody wants to be sold. It just feels a little bit harsh. And really, ultimately, for us, we're going to always schedule somebody back in for a selection appointment, because I think that it just feels better, it flows better, and just kind of brands better. But I have a number of things that kind of kick us off with tonight. But the first thing I thought I would share from the perspective of doing sales and photography is that we have to remember, and Monica, you mentioned this one of our previous times, is that we sell the result of what we do. We don't sell actually what we do. There's an old saying that the heart buys and the mind justifies. And I think what we have to do in photography is we have to remember that if we've done the things we've talked about earlier, creating an art form that's meaningful and an art form that celebrates the people we photograph, tells their stories, then we have to be aware that when we're in that appointment, in that selection appointment, that this isn't simply something we can sell or should sell like a mechanic. You'll notice if you go in to buy a car, a nice car, they don't send the mechanic out to sell you the car. But too many photographers, I think, we seem to sell like mechanics. We sell square inches, we sell textured surfaces, we sell
Right.
mount board. But what we really should be selling is the result of that art. How does it serve that family? What does it mean the day they pick it up? And what does it mean in 6 months, 2 years, 5 years down the road? I had a client one time tell me, said, boy, that's a lot of money, for a portrait. And I said, it is a lot. And I said, but I'll make you this promise. The day you pick it up, it will be worth every dime you pay, but it holds its least value that day. And how many people can say that about something they're selling, is that every day it's going to grow in value. I mean, just imagine, I told somebody too, I said, if you go out from here and you go buy a sofa and you spend $3,000 or $4,000 for it, and you buy a portrait and you spend that for it, which one's on Craigslist in 5 years and for how much, right?
Yeah.
So photography really is something we need to make sure that we're messaging it to our clients as from their perspective, what it means to them, how it serves their family, how it tells their story. One of the things when I'm in a selection appointment, I love to do, instead of saying, how do you like this portrait? How do you like the way you look? Because that's a tough question to ask somebody, but to say, do you remember the story you told me? How did I do telling that story? Or remember what you said about your son's personality? I see that in this image, because ultimately that's how you're selling the result of your art. And I know we'll flesh this out more as we go, but I think that's the first thing that I would share. And the second thing is to avoid the things that can hurt you in that selection appointment. And usually that is confusion, frustration, and fatigue. Those three things are sales destroyers: confusion, frustration, and fatigue. How do you get past that? Well, I think one is the things that we've talked about before, is defining a style, not being everything to everybody, not doing a million things where you're like, well, here's your 92 portraits to look at. Which one do you want? So you really have a style. You're forming people's expectations and then fulfilling it. And I think you simplify your product offerings. That'll help you in the sales room a lot. You don't have a lot to offer. Very simple product offerings. And I think products should line up with your brand. They should support your brand. And I think in a lot of ways, products should answer objections. Like, what do I do with the rest of these? You build product that answers those objections. So you've got simple products that answer objections. And then I think we really have to hone down the number of images we look at. And we have to show people only a few. They're trusting you to create this art, and they're trusting you to do something amazing for their family. Why would you overwhelm them with so many images? Your opinion matters. Your confidence matters. And there's a difference between the word confident and cocky. And I think we don't go into any selection appointment cocky or arrogant. That would not be right. But you do go in it confident, because people are led by confident people. They trust people that are confident. They trusted you. Go in, hone those images down, start with few images, and then get rid of that confusion, frustration, and fatigue. And you're going to find that your selection appointments flow a lot easier.
A lot of it has to do too with prep. We prepare for hours for a sale. And some people say, oh, I don't have that kind of time to spend. I say, then you're going to spend it in the selection appointment, creating confusion, frustration, and fatigue for your client. And that is not what you want, because you hear the most dreaded sentence a photographer can hear. What is it? Can I go home and think about it and get back to you?
Right.
And if that's the sentence that you hear and they walk out the door, your sales will plummet. I promise you, because so many other things start happening in their head and their life. You've lost that excitement. You don't want that. So we prepare quite a lot with what we call our suggestion, which is our guide. We really actually create what we want them to purchase before they walk through the door. the pose, the size, the finish, whatever it is, the product. And so we start at the end and we go backwards. We say this. And another thing, I think you all ought to get a pencil, write this down or type it in.
Otto's got his pencil.
Instead of saying, what would you like? Instead, think about the question, here's what you need. Here's what you need, not what would you like. When you say, what would you like? You're not the expert. When you say, here's what you need, now you're the professional. Now you're the expert. And some people say, yeah, but you know, what if they don't like my opinion or they don't agree? And what I say, they trusted you enough, for heaven's sakes, to do their photograph. That's the big trust. That's the big trust that for your photographer to think they're not going to make me look stupid or fat or ugly or whatever. That's, if you can get over that hump and you're their photographer, then they want to know what you think. They want to know that, in fact, the suggestion is Tim's voice, even when somebody else is doing the selection appointment, because he's the artist that created it. Well, what did Tim think? Well, what is Tim like? I would make up stories. I didn't know why he picked this one when I would go in the sales room. Well, why did he pick that one instead of that one? I'm like, well, now you see the way the hand is kind of curled around the arm of the child. He thought that was so much more meaningful. I don't know. I just made it up. I don't know, but they do want to know. And I figure I have half
I
of
was
his
going to say,
brain.
you probably have a pretty good inkling of why.
Yeah,
She does.
yeah.
You're not
yeah.
pulling it out of
And-
thin air. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not lying.
And having been, I'm not lying, having been a photographer too, even though I'm not actively shooting at this point, you know, I knew concepts and principles, and we've worked together for so long. Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Tim, when you talked about confidence, because what I hear photographers say a lot is, well, I want they want choices, right? Like that, my clients want to have more choices, and they want to have more say so. And I think that that's kind of a way for photographers to hide behind that, because they think, oh, okay, I'm servicing them well by giving them more input and more choices. But the fact of the matter is that people at a certain level of spending expect, we talked about this last week in client experience, they expect your expertise, and they expect you to value their time.
Yes.
And so when you sit down and show them 80, 100 images, I mean, it's too much, and it's an image dump. And I really think it's us not doing our job. What they have commissioned us to do is to provide this finished result, right? They want the family portrait or this, or, you know, a couple of on a wall gallery or whatever. And so when we say, okay, here's 60 images, what do you want? Where do you want it? That's not servicing them. And that's not being a good steward of their investment. You know, we are very, very aware and respectful, and you guys are too, about how much we cost and how much our clients spend with us. And so we are always just wanting to make sure that we are valuing their time, valuing their investment, and making the best use of it. And like you said, Bev, they're hiring us because we're the expert. And so photographers need to not hide behind, oh, I'm servicing them by giving them choices. No, you're not. You're dragging it out. They're getting tired. They want to get to it. They want your input. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, photographers these days, especially, and it happened 20, 30 years ago too, in different ways. But, you know, photographers kind of cop out because they're kind of scared to have that relationship with those people. They're kind of scared to spend time, you know, with their people in their community and their clients, you know.
Because most photographers are introverts, I think.
Well, I think that's it. And they're just so worried about what that person's reaction is to those photographs. You know, I think a lot of photographers these days think that they are giving better service by putting proofs online, because then the clients can see it any time. You know, their grandparents could see it, you know, the cousins can see it, and all that stuff. But, you know, we all know that that's not really helping them, you know, and that we all spend time, because like what Bev was saying, you know, we know what they need. We know what they need, or Bev knows what they need, because they spent time getting to know them
Ahead of time.
Yeah.
And understanding their personality and the relationship the different people have within that family group, or what they're striving for, for their home, so it's all that time that was taken to discover who they are. That's what gives you confidence, along with your experience, your taste, your ability, to say, this is what you need.
And they'll tell you, Rod's like jumping in his seat. Sorry, but they'll tell you if they don't like your suggestion. They'll
They will.
let you know.
Right.
They
That's right.
will.
Yeah. Go for it,
Mhm.
Rod.
So Michael's absolutely right. I think part of what Michael's saying is that a lot of people have a hard time selling themselves. It's like, you're so personal to you, what you're creating and what you're doing. And so sitting down with someone and feeling like they may not like something, or is a rejection of you personally, because you put yourself into the work so much. So, and I can understand that, of course, but once you find out that the sales don't happen in the sales room, the sales like we've been talking about, that it doesn't happen there. I even was a sales trainer and I don't like to sell. And so, and I don't feel like it is selling. I'm doing a service. I feel like I'm sitting side by side with them through the whole process. I'm their friend. And
that's
so
what makes
that
it
begins
fun.
with a relationship early on, and having, finding out what they need. So in the design chat that we had with them, they talked about a lot of what we talk about, but I also get from them photos of their home, of course. So I know placement, if it's horizontal, vertical, approximate size, colors of the room, pieces and so forth. So I can kind of finish their room with this piece that'll be the centerpiece of their home. So, and tell the story and the emotion, all the things too. And then visually, for me, it's just a confirmation of what we talked about earlier. So doing the sale before the sale is so much less confrontational, you're just explaining and showing and seeing how they're reacting to things. And I walk them around and show them different images and looks, and you can tell what they're gravitating toward and what they like. And so you just go down that path. And I feel like you're a friend. You're side by side. You're trying to help them tell their story, and in the most beautiful way you can.
Rado, I think you're exactly right that, the selection, the sales is the entire journey. There's absolutely no doubt about that, because the better you brand yourself, the more defined you are in your style, and the more you lead and get to know people, as we were talking about, then the selection appointment becomes the fulfillment of that. An example of that for us is with our black and white, our relationship portraits. In the design appointment, we tell them there's 3 things we're going to create. We're going to create establishing portraits. Those are amazing portraits of your family. Everybody equal, showing their faces, looking their best, all of those type of things. Then we're going to create what we call abbreviations. We're going to take each of those children and we're going to tell their story, maybe using a parent in a secondary role and something along those lines. And that's really going to feature the personality of that child. That's so you can create a grouping with those images. And those abbreviations will hang with that establishing portrait. And then when that child grows up, I want you to pick a day, let's say their wedding day, take that portrait off the wall. And I want you to give that portrait to that child. That's not yours, that's on loan. You keep the establishing portrait, but the abbreviation travels with that child. I want you to write a letter to your child. And I want you to put it in the back, don't mention it. And on their wedding day, just what gift would be better on that wedding table than that? And then we're going to create moments. Those are candidates that are going to happen that are fun, that celebrate that day. So here's how those images are used. And so we talk about it, we show it, we design that way. And then when we get in the selection appointment, it almost becomes a plug and play, because here's your establishing portrait. So I'm using terms like that, and my client understands what that means. They're not asking me, what does that mean? They're like, okay, I know what that's for. That anchors my grouping. Here's your abbreviations. Those are the portraits for the kids later. Here's the moments. Those we're going to do some layering products, some albums or books, things like that. So you're journeying, you're shooting toward that selection appointment, then you're plugging all the pieces in, and it becomes a fulfillment.
And I
And
think too, the more that we're doing ahead of time in these design conversations and, oftentimes we'll go to their homes and measure the walls. I know you guys do that too. Um, but it makes it all feel more collaborative. And the more collaborative it feels, the more ownership those clients have in the process, the more they invest because they feel like they helped create that, and they're very proud of it. We had a husband and wife grandparents, and she it was multi-gen. She bought all the clothes in 2 sizes and multiple outfits for everybody, and just on and on. It just took us days and days and hours of preparation for this. And when they came in to watch the slideshow, I watched as she was, sitting and just very like focused, and he put his hand on her knee and said, "Good job, babe." And that was such a moment for me because first of all, I wanted to throw my pen down and go, "Hello, do you know how many hours I've spent on this? I looked at clothing. I drove to the house 4 times. Like, are you kidding?" But then I was like, "Oh, wait, no, this is good. This is good." But it was such a light bulb moment for me because I watched her as he did that, and she just sat up taller, and they ended up buying 5 wall portraits because she had created them. And then when people come to her home, she's talking about she chose the outfits and she did this and she did that. And that's what we want. We want them to feel invested in the process. And the more time and energy they're spending up front, the more they feel that way and the happier we all are. And I want photographers to get to the point where they're excited about that selection, because that's what you're doing this all for. That's why you got into photography. You want people to have your portraits, right? And so instead of dreading that sales appointment, that's the most exciting thing. You're excited going into the session because you're not shooting on spec anymore. You know exactly what you're shooting for. And then the selection appointment, it's like the big day, like, hooray, like now we get to look at what we got, right? And so I want photographers to be so excited in the selection appointment and not be scared of it. It's everything. It's so fun.
Monica,
I think
where
when they see the value, I mean, they see the value of this because of the time they're putting in also, and all the different steps,
Right.
and I think
Absolutely.
before, or if people approach this differently, they don't see that value. They see you coming out to the park and photographing, and then they see some images online. Okay, now where's the value in that? You might have done a great job making an amazing portrait of Derek's son, but he hasn't been yet,
I know,
has he?
because you put them online.
I
well,
know.
well,
I know,
well,
I
look,
did.
that leads to an important question. We talk about the preparation, right? You talk about the setup. You talk about really laying everything out there from the start. And remember, we're talking about family portraits. We're not talking about, hey, I'm taking pictures of my friend for their Instagram. We're talking about a tangible product from the start. You're
Correct.
getting booked for a shoot with no other thing in mind than a tangible end product, right? So where is the disconnect? Where are you guys finding that people go wrong? You lay everything out, you have the setup, you get them involved. They hire you because they want a tangible product. They don't just want to hang out in the studio and take pictures and say, okay, that was cool, bye, never see you again. They have that in mind, right? That's why they come to you. So where's the disconnect between A and Z being that actual sale of that tangible product?
So what's the question exactly about
Where-
what
where's-
is the disconnect?
Yeah, where's the disconnect with people? So if I come in, right, say I'm going to Monica and Michael's studio, I'm hiring you for family portraits. I go in there knowing that I'm going to buy something. I'm not going to just hang out in the studio for a couple hours and have you take pictures. Okay, that was real cool. You can delete them now. You can format your card.
Right.
I go in there knowing that I'm going to get a tangible product. So we go through this whole process. Where do you see people making the mistake, or what are they missing that they're not converting? Because you would think
Got it.
it would be like, hey, well, why would they come in here and not buy something? That's the whole point of them going in the first place. Where's the disconnect?
In the beginning, in the very beginning, because it has to be in everything you're communicating, your website, your social. Like, people don't come to us and ask for digital files. Like, we have just everything is communicated in such a way that we are saying we are here for wall art, we're here for printed product. And so I think where photographers fall down is they feel like people will be mad if they don't sell digital files, or their clients want digital files. And I'm like, no. They don't know what else to ask for, or you're just working with the wrong people and they're not your client, because not everybody is your client. And that's okay. Like the sooner you figure that out, the better, but I think that, I think it has to be early and often, and it's just constantly reinforced from the first visit to your website. Like on our website, we have pictures of homes with portraits hanging on the walls, right? That's a much different message. And then on the initial phone call, we specialize in wall portrait art, and then in the designs when you come into our physical space. And so I think where photographers fall down, and Rod, Tim, Bev, Michael, you guys correct me if you think differently, but I think where they fall down is they haven't prepped the client. And then we get into the sales room and it starts to feel weird because the client wasn't clear. And then you're scared to assert yourself now. And now it's like a weird thing. And like Bev said, like, I got to go home and think about this. I didn't know you didn't sell digital files. I didn't know that I had to buy a wall portrait. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think like what Derek is saying, if you're a photographer and somewhere in the process, you just happen to say, we do wall portraits. That's not the answer. The answer is like what everyone here is saying, that it starts at the beginning. 10, 15 minutes before we did started the podcast, I scheduled a design session from a fellow who has been seeing our portraits up at our country club, and they're wall portraits. And he right away said, I said, have you, where are you from? I'm from James River Country Club. I've seen your wall portraits. I've seen how you made people look great. I know you do portraits for the wall. I know you're not just giving away files, because I see what you're doing. So it didn't start by him just calling and me saying, you know what, we do wall portraits. It happened with him seeing all the other work and work of his friends that we've
well,
done
and we're not
for his
just
friends,
giving
and he's seen the website, like Monica has said. So it's so many layers.
and we're
in
not
it.
just giving the club a digital file for their newsletter. We're hanging a physical portrait in the club. All they really wanted was a portrait for the newsletter. And we were like, no, that's not what we do. We'll give you a file for the newsletter, but we want a portrait hanging in the club. So
Yeah, it's a journey. We did a multi video. Remember videos, guys?
Yeah.
We did one on sales, and it was called The Journey of a Sale.
Mhm.
And it's every touch point, every time you interact with the client. What are you saying? How are you saying it? Are you consistent in your message? And we have learned that people don't hear one time. They need constant repetition, said in different ways, maybe visually, like website, putting an image framed on a wall in a home, like all of those touches, and how you talk to them, and preparation is the key. And you'll find out, we find out somebody's not right for us at the very beginning. So we're not spending a lot of time with that person that is not ready for us, or it's not what they want. They don't, or it's more money than they want to spend or whatever. And we don't sell files either. So we don't ever get asked, really.
And your
so,
best clients are from other clients. We always talk about, when we talk about marketing,
Yeah.
We call them the golden R's, and that's return and referral. Those are the golden R's in marketing.
Yeah.
And obviously I know the size of the city you're in affects it, but at the same time, no matter where you are, you're wanting the people that you photograph to go out and become evangelists for you. And
Right.
they're telling everybody, they're singing your praises constantly. So they're educating and drawing the right client, because everybody's going to come to you with an expectation. It's just a matter of who formed it. So you want to have it formed, and that reputation will provide privilege for you. So if you continue to do those things, those clients go out, they become your voice in the community, and then the people they send in are already kind of pre-qualified. And I think your marketing has a lot to do with this too. Monica, we're talking about early on, is if you're I think there is a little savvy on the marketing side to draw the right client, where you don't sound like you're you're giving everything away, and then you're trying to upsell all the time, and then you're
Right.
shocked because somebody's not qualified. I mean, ultimately, you need the right two bottoms in the seat, in that selection appointment, yours and theirs, the right two people. And so I think that comes with I use the right word. So that comes with consistency, right? And so, and then your people, you make them the hero, they go out, they sing your praises, and it gets some momentum. And then people go, wow, you're an overnight success. But you and I know that took years to happen,
Yeah.
but it all of a sudden it hits that exponential curve.
Yeah.
What kind of system of follow-up do you guys have, and how long do you drag out? So if someone says, I'm going to go home and think about it, are you
They
following
don't.
up? They
Don't.
We don't have
No.
that.
Hold
We don't
them
have
in
it
there.
either. We don't have it
They're
either.
there.
Really?
It's like
We
Monica
used to.
said, but we've collaborated with them. We've become their friend and we've created a relationship. I guess the way I would say it is the more you invest in them beforehand in time and effort, the more they're going to invest with you in return. And so we don't have people that say.
We have had, because we had to learn this the hard way over the
You
years.
don't want that.
I've
'cause-
made every mistake, and then I think I made a couple of them 2 or 3 times. And it's not like everything's perfect, but at the same time, you do, if you use your head, you learn from those mistakes and you correct them the right way. And it's not through punishment policy, like you do that, this is going to happen. It's through proper guidance, leadership,
Mhm,
investment of time,
mhm.
all collaboration, showing things in
Mhm.
context, their work in their home on their walls. Like with ProSelect, we use that. We show their work on the wall
Yep.
in context. There's no question about, is it the right size? What's the right frame? So we're addressing things that used to be non-addressed or unaddressed. And then it left that little thread of, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when that happens, you just look at, if that does happen, I always looked at it and said, okay, what did I do wrong? What education? I didn't educate them properly. It's not their fault at all that
Right.
they said that or walked away thinking that. It was me. I didn't educate them on one particular thing or one area or whatever. So
I'm glad you mentioned
keep-
that, Rod.
yeah, just keep adding, things to your education or to how you educate your clients before they come back for the selection appointment until that just goes away. Just there's going to be key things you're going to be like, oh, I never thought about that, or and so try to get them to make the sale, of course, but next time
let's think about,
continue to change your education.
Let's think about for a second, what are the things that stop people from making a decision in the selection
Right.
appointment? Number one would be money. Right. So they want to go home and think about it, or they have to go home and talk to their husband because they didn't expect the money. Right. So we have to address that early and often. The other thing that people can't make a decision on maybe is the placement, like Tim's talking about. But we all use this ProSelect software, which is the industry standard for selection appointments, and we can show them their image on their wall, size to scale. So now we've taken that out of it. You know what I mean? So like, what are the stumbling blocks and the hurdles that we find in the sales room that lead to that dreaded, I got to go home and think about it, I got to go home and talk to my husband? And we address each and every one of those proactively, early and often, so that there's nothing left to debate. Like, we already knew about the price. We already knew that it was going over the fireplace and had to be this size. And now the only thing we're choosing is which image you love, and I'm going to tell you which one I think. So I think that because for sure we had that for years and years, I got to go home and think about it, but I wasn't preparing the client well. And I think I'm glad you mentioned that, Rod, because I think photographers have to own that responsibility. And, too many of us say, oh, well, they didn't listen. I told them 3 times, they didn't read the email. Well, people don't read and people hear what they want to hear, but it's still incumbent upon us to make it a pleasant and happy and exciting process. And if that doesn't happen, it's somewhere that we've got to fix in our system.
And really, the selection appointment, how much time do you really spend on average?
I make a lot of money in 20 minutes, but they're here for 90. We're just talking and visiting, and it's fun. And, right. Like, you guys are the same. Like, it's like when they are designing a house or designing custom furniture, there's lots of visits with that designer. There's lots of time spent with that designer. And then when it's delivered, it's like you visit, you know each other. How are the kids, so yeah, but no.
So the point is, you're not going through sales techniques or sales phrases or anything like that. You're
Can
going
we
through
stay
selection
on the
process,
money
and then you're-
first? Can we stay on the money aspect? Because we did have a question come in regarding budget, the term budget. Do people, so Greg, thank you for the question, join us here on Zoom, asking, are you having the conversation as part of the design appointment about budget? And are you, if someone
100%.
brings up a budget, are you honoring it, or are you kind of steering them away from having a set number in mind?
Can I take that?
Go for it.
Who wants
And so yes, we talk about price from the very first phone call, and we get much more into detail about it at the design session. And I just explain very honestly to clients, I say, listen, there's two types of clients. There's clients for whom placement is most important. Like it's got to go over the fireplace. It doesn't matter the price, but that's where I want this portrait. And then there's clients for whom price is the most important. And so then you're saying, okay, I've really got to stay in this kind of window. And so if that's the case, then I'm going to take multiple photos of multiple walls so that we have more choices, because maybe the size and in the price range that you feel comfortable isn't appropriate for the fireplace, but let's honor your budget and let's put it on a wall where it can be showcased, and I just tell them you can be either one of those. There's no right or wrong, but it helps me to know so that I can prepare for you and have you as delighted as possible.
That's good.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not there to squeeze every single penny out of somebody. You're there for the relationship, and you're there to help them, and you're there to care for them.
And we want to see them again.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think what you guys, the common theme that I'm getting from all of you is that the more you get word of mouth, the more that they come back, the less work, the less talking, the less preparation you're doing, because you've already heard it from 3 families down the street who have gone and been working with you for years. So now they come in and the expectation's already there. It's like, okay, we already know what to expect. Let's get down to brass tacks.
They know the rules of the road. Yeah.
Then your
Yeah.
preparation is about that image. It's like doing everything to
Right.
make that image amazing and to make it unique from the last and appropriate to the age of the family and the children at that time, and less about those details, as you say, because they're already established.
Mhm. Now we had a question come in from Anthony joining us on Facebook, who's asking, how do you separate your business from others to sell the prints and not the digitals? Now I know we did talk about displaying, but is there anything in particular that we're in a digital age now? How do you really drive home the actual tangible print?
Who wants to take that?
You want to take that right up?
Yeah, sure. I was thinking Tim would be really good at this.
I'm more than happy, but
Because
but
you are, because you're the crafts. I really feel like you're a craftsman, and that's how you sell what you do and who you are. Obviously, I've studied with Tim and Bev. I studied with Monica. I studied with Michael. Anyway, but when I studied with Tim, what he always talked about was this, craftsmanship and the touch and the feel and all those things that, just draw people in emotionally, all of that. So it's tactile. It's so different. So you take it away, Tim.
and I would add that, when I push the button to capture an image, I'm only part of the way there. There's an entire skill set in the printing process, understanding the substrates, the print process, what's going to last through generations at home, what's going to reflect my art the way you expect it to be, reflected on your walls. And being a print artist, and we kind of coined that term back when digital started, we're print artists, and that's a whole different level of photographer. And photography is understanding we shoot for the print, and then we fulfill that vision. Once we've captured that image, we do all of the things to make that print everything you expect it to be. And I kind of liken it to if you hired a chef and they brought you all the fresh ingredients and everything, but they set it on the table, I can cook it, but it's not going to taste like that chef's. It's nothing like it. There's an entire skill set. There's decision making.
Mhm.
There's creativity. There's uniqueness that goes into the print. And there's both a real a difference and a perceived difference
Mhm.
in between a file and a print. You're going to perceive an art piece very differently on a subway with a piece of pizza looking on a phone as you are in someone's home with a framed piece properly lit on their wall. It has an entire different visual impact. It has an entire different legacy side to it. And so there's a real and a perceived value that goes to the print. And so I don't preach a lot about the print because the heart buys, the mind justifies. But when it comes up, I use that opportunity. And you talked about education, Rado, and one of the things that we have is we have a very in-depth content library, little short films or videos, little short e-magazines, things like that. And we might use that during that process of sending someone what a signature canvas, what goes into it, what goes into a fine art black and white print. While and I'll tell a client in a selection appointment or in a selection appointment or design, I'll say, listen to me all the way through. This may sound wrong if you don't give me a chance to finish, but there's absolutely no better printer than me of what I created because I have the vision for it. There may be a better printer than me, but there's no better printer than me of what I created because I have the vision and I know how to execute that vision. So we're selling you that legacy piece. Like you say, it's a craftsman piece.
And you started in the dark room with
Yeah.
your dad at age 12.
Yeah, and then
So you're too young to really know what you know in a way, because you know the craft of darkroom printing, of silver gelatin prints, archival washers. I mean, I used to go in the basement and there were prints everywhere hanging on clothespins, film and all that. And that helps our craftsman message and not digital. And we hit a lot on the history. What's our history? Why do we do this like we do? And the print artist came up in a conversation. You got a phone call.
yeah,
This was probably what, 8 years, I lose track. And a lady said something, do you sell digital files? And I heard him in the kitchen here. And he's like, no, I'm a print artist. And I'm like, what's that? Like, I'm listening like, what? And he went through this whole, like, out of his head, just like on the spur of the moment. I'm like, cool.
And I would also say this for all those that are listening is that you need to respect your art if you expect other people to, and you need to show that respect for your art through various tangible physical things. So a certificate of authenticity on the back, acid-free conservation matting when it's appropriate, hand-signed art pieces, see what they do in museums and then begin to carry that all the way through. Plus, I think in this digital world that we're in, there's never been a time where you could actually rise to the top through adding a more tactile type of art, where like with our canvases, we're adding brush strokes and things that we did years ago, but we got away from, where there's varnish, there's that tactile feel. So it's got a painterly, an artistry, all of those things going in, because we're creating a gap between us and the masses, and that print ability is part of that gap.
And I would challenge too, that I think, and I did this for a while too, when our studio wasn't doing well, I used this, I'll admit, I used it as an excuse. And I said, oh, everybody wants digitals, and we're not selling digitals. And so our business is going downhill. And so, but when I really challenge myself, when I'm really honest with myself, it's not that my clients want digitals. It's that I was using that as an excuse. I was assuming they wanted digitals. And now if somebody says to you, do you sell digitals? I would say to you, ask them what they want it for, because 9 times out of 10, they will tell you it's social media. And that's a whole different conversation. I'm happy to share social media files of anything that you purchase a print of.
Exactly.
I'm not even going to charge you. But if you just go, nope, we don't sell digitals, and everybody wants digitals. Nobody will hire me. Everybody wants to ask them what they want it for. Some will tell you that they want to make their own prints. And then you have the choice to educate them, and they have the choice to either value that or take it have somebody else give them the images that they can print by themselves. Either one is fine, but you have to identify that up front. Most of them will say, it's for social media, in which
Yes.
case you can be the hero and still keep the client. So just ask the questions.
You know what we did on the social media front, which I thought was really a good idea. If instead of, I think this has been a couple years now, giving them the files or whatever, because we don't even like to hand them or anything. I made a Facebook cover photo for them with their favorite images and put a pretty quote on it, just designed it really beautifully. And, you know, the something, something family or whatever. And then I told them how to put it on. Cause have you seen our clients' Facebook cover photos? Like their heads are chopped off or you see their leg and their foot, kind of like Rado in the beginning. with the sock on.
What? That's not good.
But we just gifted it to them.
Yeah.
So if it was a pet portrait, we did different views of their pets and look at Fido,
Yeah.
you know, and a cute, you know, woof woof quote or whatever.
And it always stayed there. Didn't
And
come
it
down.
stays there. It
Newsfeed.
stays right there. And then we put our logo on it and our website.
And you
And so
guys-
that was a different way. They can't do anything. What are they going to do with it? You know?
and they're excited. Like we should all be, photographers should be happy that their clients want to share these images, that they
Right.
love them. So instead, photographers are like, I'm not going to sell digitals. No, like be excited. They want to share their portraits. Like
Mhm.
you want them to like, and think about when you take a great selfie or you take a great picture of your dog, the first thing you do is you want to put it on social. So don't punish them for wanting the same thing, you know, just educate as to, we can do that as a gift. That's not what we're in the business of doing. That's not
Yeah.
what you're paying.
Figure out ways that don't hurt you and will help them. And it doesn't, you know, it's that circle of, is this going to hurt our reputation and our brand
Right.
or not? And how can we create like the Facebook cover photo or something,
Mhm.
create something that doesn't hurt us,
Mhm.
and that they're excited about. So
Now, as we start to wrap this up, I want to throw in, we're going to sandwich in a little two-part question here. Tina, welcome back. I saw you joined us yesterday, so welcome back. Tina's asking, number one, if you guys do print your own photos or if you use a third-party vendor to print. And I'm going to throw a little sandwich second part on there. When we're talking about high-end portrait studios, do you recommend for someone who's starting out to go with a large selection of products available for purchase, or to keep it constrained?
We're all like,
You guys,
Oh,
I
no.
already knew where that was going. Monica
Uh-uh.
gave you the death stares.
Yeah. It is so hard when you have a lot of products. It's so confusing for people, and it's confusing for you because you're trying to figure out which lab or which place or who prints this, how they do it, what kind
5
of
different
output you have to do, what color
vendors.
space,
yeah.
you know, all the things and you spend so much time rattling around trying to get these, you know, whatever, a locket to them or something, you know, that it just doesn't end up being profitable for you. The client ends up so confused that they don't focus on what's truly important, and you've lost the message
That's it.
of what you
Yep,
want to
you've
do.
lost
So
the message.
I want to get to the heart of the issue first and get to that wall portrait what we specialize in, and just, you know, work down the list. But yeah, definitely you're going to have way more success if you limit your products.
It's the
And from a
same
client's perspective, too.
principles. It's the same principles we talked about when defining your style. Do you want to be all things to all people, or do you want to be known for this? And I think that's the same thing with products. You know, it's hard when we go to a trade show and we see a million things that we love, but you really have to ask yourself, is this on brand? Am I going to be excited about selling it? Is this something my clients will purchase? And just stay in your lane. Like, don't try and be all things to all people.
Yeah.
And you know, I think this goes back to what people say, I hate the sales, make me so nervous. Well, sometimes that's self-inflicted pain. And part of that self-inflicted pain is, here's my Encyclopedia Britannica of what I have to offer. and you know, like we said earlier, there's no dealing with the heart and the meaningfulness of the art. It's an explanation of every single thing. Now, if I get this texture, what does that feel like? I mean, how does that look compared to this? And you're talking about all the wrong things. I would say you start simple you know, you stay very clean, And then if you need to add something, you do it purposefully as you need to. And then as far as the printing goes, you know, I think, now my advice to most photographers, especially if they're new to the industry, or maybe they're struggling a little bit trying to get with, you know, themselves separated from the masses and all, is that printing can be, I don't know, sometimes we need to focus more on our brand and our marketing and so forth. So I do think you need to understand enough about printing that you choose the right people, you choose the right substrates, and you're still a print artist because you're going in and doing things a lab used to do when you sent them a negative. Now you're
Correct.
dodging, you're burning, you're color correcting, you're making all of those decisions. So you find a lab that's consistent, great quality, and then you do your job right, but you need to invest time in making the selection appointment better, in making your marketing better, building content, all of those kind of things. And then down the road, you might want to print. Now we do print. I've
Just a
printed for
few-
years, but I print only my fine
Okay.
art black and white
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now because I'm so picky about that. And so I do that and I outsource other things.
Plus it's time consuming.
Yeah.
You know, like, we need to concentrate on other things right now. So we pick the primo thing that we sell and that we're known for. And I would say if you can create something that's kind of an iconic thing that's you, that's just got your twist on it, you know, that nobody else has, be unique, be different. But make sure it's likable. You know, you can be different and
And
it can be,
investment worthy.
and be ugly,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, and investment worthy, then, you know, really kind of highlight that, make that like your trophy that you can hold up and say, this is what I do. And diminish if you have to do other things, kind of diminish those, don't market them and show them, just hold that trophy product up. And then that you'll get known for that. And that, I think that's the way to go. But simplify everything from beginning to end. We're too complicated sometimes.
I had a
And do-
student that recently said to me that she uses the word flagship product. You know, this is what we're
Yeah.
known for. This is our
That's a good
flagship.
word.
And I
That's-
just thought, damn, that is a great word.
Yeah.
Everybody understands that.
Yeah.
And it's like, everybody wants that. That's what you're known for, right?
'Cause that's
So-
yeah, that's the thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
So shout out to Christine Logan, if you're listening.
Go Christine.
Yeah.
Well, this was great. I mean, yeah, with that last printing thing, it's funny. I was about to just say, stick to what you do best and you have to learn to outsource. Obviously, you're going to find preferred vendors and people who can hold up your high standard, but focus on what you do, especially with
Right.
printing is a beautiful, romantic, lost art when you do it for yourself, or, you know, every once in a while when you get a print. I got a nice big pile of dried up ink that is called a printer behind me that
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
the novelty sometimes wears off and you don't use it as much. It's a beautiful thing, but I think for what you guys do, you have the right approach. Keep it simple, do what you do best, and really leave
Outsource
printing
the
to the
rest.
professionals.
Yeah.
Totally.
Mhm.
Totally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's ton of great advice. I know every time I have you guys on, it's going to be a ton of wonderful advice. Luckily for all of everybody, all of our viewers out there, we do have it archived. So we did drop those links there. This as well will be archived. I don't even want to say goodbye. I'm just going to keep dragging this. I'm going to keep you guys all
Okay, good.
along.
I have an
Good.
announcement before I forget. the
Yes, go
announcement.
for it.
So we have been giving free PDF handouts every week, and this week is no exception, but except for we're giving you 2. So Rod, do you want to just drop the website in the chat for everybody?
You bet.
So they can go to the Portrait Paradigm, click on the free resources tab, and we have in there links to B&H Event Space for every week's replays. And then every week's handouts. And so tonight's handout is all about sales. And in addition to that, all 3 of our studios gear list, complete with B&H item numbers, are available for download. So when you want to know what cameras we're shooting with, what lenses we favor, what gear we're using, it's all there, and it's all really easy to find on the B&H website. And so we hope you'll support them because they're supporting our industry with this free
Yes,
education.
thank you so much.
So,
we
so go
appreciate
check
you
it
guys.
out, download the PDFs, are amazing. And
The podcast.
oh my God, yes. Okay.
How did you
so-
forget?
Okay, so the Portrait Paradigm is on our new website, and then the F Stops Here podcast is officially launching on next Wednesday. There is an introduction episode up now. It's a little 15 minutes about why we're doing it. So you can go there now and listen to that. And we would love, if you love the podcast, give us some stars, follow us, give us a review. We would love that. Help us build that up. And you can find it on Apple or wherever, F Stops Here podcast. And you can also link to it from our website too. So
Awesome. Well, Marla I think Marla's been in for this whole series, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So
Yes.
She said
Hi,
hello to
Marla.
she said hello to all of us tonight, not just Tim and Bev and Rod.
Well.
She rem-
Wonderful. I've
she
known
said,
her a long
"Thank
time.
you,
Yes,
guys."
we've known her a long time.
She's great.
Yes.
Great lady.
Oh,
And Bev, I'm going to throw in one last bonus question here.
I see
because
that.
You see it in there? Yes.
Yes, how would I how would I
Post
do
one for
that?
them.
Post it on,
Post one on, just on, either of our Tim Walden or Beverly Walden on Facebook. Give us a
And
day,
we
because
can-
most of them are on our clients' pages, but we'll, why don't we share one? Give us a day or two, go to either, Facebook at Tim Walden or at Bev Walden. Like I said, we'll
Probably
post-
my name.
Yeah, go to Bev Walden.
yeah.
We can put
And
it on
then-
our Portrait Paradigm free resources.
And,
too.
and we can put it on the free
I'll
resource. there.
send it
That's a
to
good-
Rado.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's the hard
Give us a
stuff.
few days to do that, and we will make sure, because
Yeah.
all those
Be
are
glad to
already
do
being
that.
used by our clients.
Yeah,
but
I'd be
not
glad to
ours.
do that.
Yeah, but that's a good question.
I could do one with all of us, with our
There you
names.
go.
I like it.
I love it.
Custom. Well, I can't thank you all enough. And Monica, you have to tell Michael, thank you all on behalf
Well,
of us here
yeah.
at the Event Space team. We always love having you guys on. This has been just a wonderful.
Thank you guys.
warm,
Oh,
fun
you
stuff.
guys
Thank
are the
you.
best. We
Been a
There's
pleasure.
there's so many vendors right now that are having to pull back sponsorship and pull back on the education piece, and where everybody's pulled back, you guys have doubled down, and you've done it consistently through COVID and now still going. And it's such a gift. It's such a gift to the industry. And we really appreciate it, because we all feel strongly about elevating our craft and the industry as a whole. And you guys are the ones that make things like this possible. So thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Well, I'm gonna log off before I start to cry and get emotional.
I know it's
No, honestly, this is it's one of the, as you can probably tell, we love what we do. There's no better feeling than waking up in the morning,
Yeah.
loving what you do, and knowing that we're helping
100%.
educate. You know, I know B&H is a huge retailer, but for us, it's about the education aspect, and that's why we love what we do, because it's not about selling gear. It's about educating people. And look, when the tide rises, we all rise together. It's better to
Right.
see a whole industry of inspired, motivated, good photographers. But
Yes.
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
why we're
wow.
here. So I want to send a huge special thank you to all of you, and of course all of our viewers. Marla says, Bev, by the way, I love your Tuesday tidbits so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greg Miller
Thank
joining
you.
us also on Zoom here, says great presentation and series. Thank you so much. So I think I speak on behalf of all of the viewers and the Event Space team, saying this was just a wonderful series. Look forward to having you all back in the future. But unfortunately, it is time to say goodbye. It is time to be heavy. Here comes those dreaded words. Another rendition of this is definitely another rendition of the
I love
B&H
it.
virtual events.
What is that movie? It said, love isn't having, what is that?
I don't.
Love story? Love means never having to say goodbye.
All right, we won't say.
I
We
don't
will
know.
say until
We
later.
just say,
Until
we
next
meet
time.
again.
Until we
Next
meet
time.
again.
Until
There we
next
go.
time.
Until we meet again. You know what? I'm not even going to do my usual outro. Then I'm just going to say until next time.
Until
This has
next
been a
time.
wonderful.
Thank
time.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you. everybody.
guys.
Thanks, Darren.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
You guys are
you.
awesome. Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.